Welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles. We have a special episode today, Mac. We are going to talk about our half-brother here at Gramlich and McLean. We're going to talk about our half-brother, and that is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We got to talk about this national championship. It's one of the more highly anticipated ones in recent years. You've got two massive brands in Notre Dame and Ohio State, and we've got some friends that have some good Notre Dame connections, Max. So it just made too much sense. We had to get into this game.
We really did. And it was one of those things that I've kind of been planning if it happens, just again, because of what you just said, there are friends there. Riley Leonard, longtime friend of the show. I mean, we were kind of joking around about it. We were talking to Riley before anyone knew who Riley was, way back in the Duke day. His first year as a starter.
Look it up on our YouTube.
That's right. It's there. It's there. The basketball stories, the competition, everything of where he kind of got it. And it was fun. It was great to reconnect with him. So he's here. He joins us here in a second. So it was awesome to talk with Riley. And then, of course, my brother, Jordan Cornette. I knew he was juiced up. I had to share with him that I am relatively back.
I know. Wow.
And I'm excited. I'm excited for the Golden Domers and where they're going. So there's a ton of conversation in this, KG, that we need to get to from QB1, Riley Leonard, and then, of course, Jordan Cornette. So before we get there, quick message from our friends over at Ingles, and then we'll hear from the quarterback.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
But anyway, Riley, great to see you. Thank you for jumping back on, man. It's been really fun to watch you from afar and kind of cover you inadvertently, but it's a whirlwind. And I can't think of a better guy to be where you are. Notre Dame's about to play for a freaking national championship. What do you think when you hear those words? Has it sat in at all, or is it just another game right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you all for having me. It's weird because you wanna appreciate how far you've come, right? My freshman year, go 3-9. Don't think I'm ever gonna play in a football game to playing in the national championship. You want to take it all in, but then you're like, all right, still just another game, right? Like we're gonna prepare the same way. So it's a really tough balance. But I am definitely, waking up in the morning and thanking Jesus for bringing me here. And it's a opportunity of a lifetime, right? Some coaches will coach 50 years, never get the chance to play in a national championship. So it's pretty cool.
That's a great perspective, Riley. And yeah, I'm just thinking back when we first had you on, I believe it was right before, no, it was way before the Duke Clemson game. It was the year before that when we had you on and just kind of getting to know you. And now the whole country, of course, knows you and knows what you're about. But for you, Riley, what has this year been? I know obviously it's been quite a successful year playing for a national championship. But what have you learned maybe about yourself and just about kind of what it takes to get to this level in this year at Notre Dame?
Yeah. So I learned a lot about myself, obviously. I think you don't really know what you don't know. And going into Notre Dame, right, I picked one of the biggest brands in college football, and to play quarterback here, there are a lot of expectations, and it's a privilege to play quarterback here, but I didn't really understand how big it was till something went bad. See, like, whenever things are going good, it's like, yeah, it's good, Notre Dame. Things go bad, then you realize how big of a school this is and how big the fan base is real quick. So, after the NIU loss, which, me and Freeman bring up a lot because it's kind of brought us to who we are today. I learned a lot about myself. One of the biggest things I took away was, I like to say that I keep Jesus first, and then my family, and then football third. Well, after that loss, that game on Saturday was blowing those other two things out the gym, and the way that I carried myself around my life, and there were some young guys on the team who actually called me out for it, and that's something that really hit me because I take a lot of pride in saying that I'm a Christian and really living that. So that kind of snapped me back into place. And then, there are a lot of life lessons after that one, but I really just kind of also learned, like, it doesn't get much worse than here. So might as well go out there and just let it fly. I mean, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So here we are. Like every single game felt like our backs have been against the wall, and one step at a time, we just kept digging.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's so good to have, brothers and sisters in your life that will call you out, because it's a journey every single day. And like you said, you're on a way different pedestal being the quarterback at Notre Dame and everything that comes with it. But at the end of the day, you're a son of God first. And it's a great thing to have that and to have that, check and remembrance, I'm sure in a very mild manner there. But you speak of the brand that Notre Dame is. How about the business side of this thing? Because I'm great friends with Jordan Cornette, great friends with a lot of Notre Dame people. I know what that side of it looks like as well. How has that been for you from an NIL perspective, from brand deals, from things of that nature? Are there any fun stories, any cool commercials or partners that you've worked with that you really appreciate?
Yeah, obviously this is a national brand, and we've been able to travel all across the country in a lot of different venues. We were able to travel to New York City this summer and meet a lot of cool people there, going to the ESPN headquarters. So that's really cool. And then on the NIL side, there are a lot of opportunities, right? You got, first and foremost, the financial literacy that is taught here with the money that we're now getting is really something that's very important, and we take very seriously. And then I think it's also important to know that like all the money that we get, a lot of these guys are giving back to their families. Like a lot of these people are having cousins that they can pay for plane tickets and grandmas and grandfathers. So that's also a really cool thing. And I've been able to sponsor with some great brands, obviously Roback being one of them, which you guys have on. They've been great to me. And then Great Clips has been one that, I definitely love a lot because I've been going to Great Clips like for a really long time. So when I was
Oh, come
when I was
on.
in Durham at Duke, they had like three great clips around the area, and I would just bounce around place to place. So they've always got me right, and yeah, I really appreciate them a lot.
Come on. Well,
Yeah,
as you
it's
can
really
see, I
cool.
don't really need great clips. I'm good. I'm good. But maybe the beard, if they do a little trim up, that'd be great.
Oh, they got you, bro. They got
There
you.
we go. There we go.
That's awesome, Mac. Yeah, Mac, I'm not sure he can really use that one. Roback, though, he's in on that one. Riley, let's look kind of at what you guys have done, even post NIU game. I mean, we can kind of talk about it that way, but especially into the playoff. But was there like a moment? You said obviously NIU was kind of the bottom, right? Okay. And I've heard the stories you're talking about going into Coach Freeman's office and all this stuff. When was there when was the moment for you where you thought, okay, we're done with that. Like it's clicked. We could be the best team in the country. Like, is there a game or a moment that stands out to you?
It's a good question. I think that didn't really ever cross my mind as being the best team in the country. I think every week I was like, all right, can we be the best team on the field?
Mhm.
And that's all we kind of had to do. And I know it kind of might sound cliche, but that's the way it was. Like we weren't looking at the playoffs until we were in the playoffs after
Mm.
USC and we were done with the season. I mean, it was really 1 week at a time. Like we really put our head down, didn't
Yeah.
listen to any outside opinion, and just play ball. I mean, and luckily the type of kid that's recruited here is able to sit down, have perspective, and just go one step at a time.
I love that, man, because to me, not that I thought you guys could be the best, because it was a bad loss. I mean, it is what it is. It was
Yeah.
bad. But the way you responded the very next week, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, look out. Scoring 66 points and the defense just being freaky with what they do, and then you guys just kept like killing people. Like it was like just push that to the side. I know it's a topic of discussion and everybody's arguing for who should be in and all these different things, and that's a sore point. But you look at how you guys reacted the rest of the year, it was incredible. And I think obviously you guys, you're on the field, you're doing it, you're making the plays, but it seems to me Coach Freeman has a huge deal of that as well. Every time I hear him talk, when he got announced last year, 2 years ago, whenever that was, I mean, I was so juiced up, and I didn't even like Notre Dame. Actually, I couldn't stand seeing them.
Yeah.
I loved to play them. I wanted to beat them and things of that nature. But he has changed it for me, man. Seriously, these last couple of years, like I love what he's doing. And guys like yourself going there, obviously the relationship that we had, I'm like actively pulling for Notre Dame now. And I think a lot of that is because of him. So maybe give me the story on what was the locker room? What was his speech like after that? And then in this playoff, in this run, we've seen a lot of it, but just Coach Freeman, who he is and how he's putting you guys in this position.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned you didn't like Notre Dame, and I think it's funny because I went to Duke and Notre Dame, which are like probably like the two most
Yes.
hated schools in America, which is hilarious to me
And you're
because like
such a likable guy. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
it's, once you get into the programs and know the people in the campus and everything, like it's great. But yeah, after that game, I think the biggest thing that he did was take responsibility. Like
Mm.
you go into that locker room, I got my head down. I'm like, oh, I'm finna get chewed out. You know, this is obviously this game. I threw this game away, and he gets up there in front of the whole team. He's like, that's completely my fault. I didn't prepare you the right way, and I didn't handle success, and we didn't handle success as a group. After beating A&M, we hadn't won the big one in the past few years early, beating A&M, so we didn't handle success the right way. And I think just when you have your head coach, when you're at your lowest point of confidence, saying that's completely my fault. You know, I shouldn't have called those plays. I shouldn't have put you in that situation. Besides a couple throws, you know, you played fine, you're good. Is just like the most reassuring thing as a quarterback, and the team kind of just, you know, whether he was lying or not, we believed in, hey, coach, you know, appreciate you, man. Like, so it was that's kind of the takeaway that I took from it, and it worked.
Yeah. And then how about the playoff? I mean, going against Indiana at home, Georgia, Penn State. I mean, all these different things. And again, we've seen snippets of the locker room. I think it was the Penn State one where he's like, it's a 7-point game. Don't be scared. Like, let's go. Just the fact that he was such a great player and how intense he is, and he's been there, done that. Like, it just comes off differently, right? When it comes from a guy like that.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, I say it a lot, but I really feel like he's just an extension of the team. Everything that he's feeling is exactly what we're feeling before the game. Like, he's not running out there with shoulder pads and a helmet, but it sure does feel like that. Like, it honestly feels like before a game, it's just your captain, you know, senior who's giving a speech, firing us up. And I, I think that's a very unique trait and something not all coaches can have, right? I mean, he just has something about him where he's, you know, gives off a younger, you know, swaggerish persona. But at the same time, he balances like the hierarchy as well. Like he's gonna hold himself accountable and carry himself in a way that you respect as a man and as a head coach. But he's also just like a teammate of mine, I feel like. So whenever he's giving speeches, like we're ready to run through a wall.
That's interesting. That's a very unique perspective. I'm not sure how many coaches make their teams feel that way in the country, Riley. Let's talk about Ohio State. Let's talk about this national championship game. And what I find so interesting, and I know you're used to this, right? Because you were at Duke. You guys are an 8-point dog, like the underdog. And you guys have been really, when you entered the playoff, I think most people thought you'd beat Indiana, but then getting to Georgia, very few people picked you guys to beat Georgia. Very few people picked you guys to beat Penn State. How has that galvanized you and galvanized the locker room?
Yeah, that was the first time I heard about the spread. You know, like good. I mean, that's fine. Like that's probably what I expect. Every single week, you know, you go into a lot of these games. You go into Army, you go into Navy. You got people thinking they're both gonna win, and you go into USC. Like, I don't know, it's all right. Like that's fine. Yeah, we've been kind of underdogs for a while now.
Yeah, I love that. Use it and harness it. How about your guy Love in the backfield with you there? Injured, wearing a knee brace, jumping over people. He broke his rule. He said he wasn't going to jump. He jumps over somebody. And then just the fire from him gets stuffed, somehow keeps his footing, gets stuffed again. And then Michael Jordan stretches the ball out, scores a touchdown. When he does those type of things, what does that do for the entire team? And what kind of things do you need from him in this last game here?
Yeah, I mean, we say it all the time. Like, we're convinced he's not a human being. We are fully convinced he's an alien of some sort. I mean, you guys. I wish you guys could see like his personality too, because he's just the most low key dude ever. Never really talks about football. Would rather just watch anime or do random stuff. Like you'll be sitting there at practice, you know, on a Sunday after the game, just chilling, and he'll just hit a backflip, and just because, like, No reason. One-legged backflip, will land on one leg. Like he just does that type of stuff. There's this sign in the locker room that we all try to hit, and we're all putting up our tennis shoes, strapping them up, reaching for it. This dude's walking through the shower in his bare feet, holding a towel, slap. Like he's just a different athlete, and it's insane. I got the best view in the house after I hand the ball off to him, but he's obviously gonna have a breakout game. He's a kid who always shows up when you need him. I mean, even Indiana, his first touch of the game, 98 yards with a hurt knee of some sort. So, whenever you need him most, like he's gonna make a play.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, Riley, let's talk just keys. Give us one or two keys that maybe for you or for the team, if you guys do this, you guys are gonna be national champions.
Yeah, I mean the few keys are always win the turnover margin, third downs, and 4-point plays, difference in a touchdown and a field goal in the red zone. But I think as an offense, what we didn't do a good job in the first half was establishing and winning the line of scrimmage and the rush attack. That kind of gets us going as an offense, and we didn't do that until the second half. The second half that first drive against Penn State, a lot of runs there, a lot of 10, 15-yard runs right off the bat, and that kind of was able to condense the box, and we were able to take our explosive shots. So we really got to win the line of scrimmage early. We got some guys banged up on the offensive line, but shoot, the backups all year have been coming in and balling out. So that's one thing we got to do. And then defensively, you gotta play man coverage. You gotta be able to guard those guys. I mean, obviously they got a good receiving group, but we've kind of proven with our young DBs they can hold their own too.
Mm.
It's going to be fun, man. Riley, it's always great to see you. We're so excited for you. Good luck, and go kick some butt, man. Let's get a ring.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Jordan Cornette, welcome back. Great to see you. You've got your row back on. You've got your Notre Dame on. You look fantastic. I just want to start with this. Are you going to the game? Are you kidding me?
No.
Come on. Wait, what? What'd you say?
I got to work. I got golf. I got golf in the morning with NBC, and I got hoops prior to kickoff. Before I get home, I'll be able to watch every second of it, but from the confines of my home.
Brutal.
What an
The
awful
first
way to
time
start this
since
interview.
13.
I should have just told you before we started this that we've been talking here for an hour before you hit record. I should have just told you I wasn't going to.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a hard
devastated.
thing.
I'm
Yeah,
devastated.
it's hard.
But here's the deal. We just talked with Riley Leonard, and he's amazing, and you know that. I mean, we've worked with him for a long, long time. But when I told him, and I want to tell you this face to face here, I like Notre Dame now. I love Notre Dame because of him, because of
What's
Marcus
going on?
Freeman. And what
It's
it
a
is,
French.
I figured this out. Brian Kelly almost ruined you guys. Like, he made
Yeah,
you
he
so
tried.
unlikable. That's why I hated Notre Dame. It had nothing to do with the university, with the team. It was all him. And he's gone. And I love this place now.
Yeah, but we can't look, and I hear you, and I think that's a very common sentiment amongst non-Notre Dame people. He did win a lot, so I think for anybody to be like this revisionist historian and act like he didn't matter, he got us to a point, and we
Sure.
had some very lean years prior to Brian Kelly. So,
Sure.
like him or not, he won a ton. I gotta say, for your audience who knows you two very well, and the beauty of your guys' pod and what you do is it's expanded past Clemson because you guys are that good. Eric hates Notre Dame more than anybody.
Yes.
This religious, God-fearing man hates Notre Dame more than anything in the world, more than South Carolina, more than a vegan restaurant, more than small plates. Like, he hates Notre Dame. And that is like, I keep hearing it from everybody. And it does start from the most likable coach in Marcus Freeman,
Yep.
a very likable group of 18 to 22-year-olds that are not playing for self, but are playing for each other. I mean, these guys are in prayer circle during the week. Like, they walk and live a true humble sense of being, and it plays so well to team. I mean, these guys love each other. And you two have starred on teams from high school to college to now in the TV game. And if there's love within your team, you're going to go out there and be the best version of yourselves. And that's what this Notre Dame team is.
Mac, I'm glad that you're confessing that you now root for Notre Dame, because we do have, and JC knows what I'm talking about. We do have a baby photo of Eric McLean in Notre Dame garb.
True.
Now, this is the largest baby you've ever seen. Let's be
You've
clear.
seen this picture multiple times. Yes.
It's so.
Yes.
There's some, because I think your dad's from Indiana area,
His
right, Mac?
His dad's texting with me during the games.
Right.
Like, his dad's diehard.
Mac,
it feels good to be back.
Time.
It feels good to be back. Let me say that.
Welcome back, my prodigal son.
Yes, it was just a matter of time for Mac. JC, this Notre Dame season has been a roller coaster, right? And we talked about this with Riley as well. I want to ask you, okay, where were you? What was your reaction to the Northern Illinois loss? Because that was just crazy, right? And then when did you have a moment maybe post that loss where you thought, okay, this team is actually, like, we could actually maybe do something? So those are my two questions.
I was lucky enough to be around this team a lot leading up to the season. I was lucky enough to have a spot in the documentary that was on Peacock, Here Come the Irish. Don't know why they thought I was elevated enough of a voice to be a part of it, but I was honored. And you guys know this. I put on a golf outing every year. KG, we got to get you down there this year for it in Cincinnati. In my late brother's name, who passed away of a heart attack in 2016, we get a ton of big sports names. EMAC's been there several years, scheduling with ACC stuff that couldn't make it this past year. But Marcus Freeman was there. Not only did Coach Freeman come, and this was in August before the season started, only a couple weeks before the season started, he made the commitment to be there. But he also brought his quarterback, Riley Leonard, All-Americans Xavier Watt, and Ben Morrison to be a part of this thing a few weeks before the season because he knew what it meant to me in honoring my late brother. And so I was around these guys, and I saw just the leadership, how they carried themselves. These guys acted like they were seventh-year seniors. Now they're older guys, sure, but just I didn't move like that. And I championed myself during my time as a true leader. I wasn't as talented as those guys, but really prided myself on that part. So I saw innately what was in these guys. And Kelly, that's how I'm going to get to answering your question. When they lost that game to Northern Illinois, it was a very hot day in South Bend. I happened to be here in town where I live in Fairfield, Connecticut. I watched it from my house. I was horrified by what I watched. It was a flat performance coming off the heels of what they did against Texas A&M on the road. But I tweeted, and there's proof if you guys go back and grab it. I tweeted right at the end of that game. I said, "All is not lost. Champions are made in the response," or something along those lines. And if you're a true champion, it's how you respond from this loss. Because in this new world, there's this 12-team playoff. There's a ton in front of you. There's a gettable schedule. And I knew those leaders in that locker room would rally around the ultimate leader in Marcus Freeman, and they would be fine. It'd just be a blip on the radar. I knew that they'd run the table the rest of the way. They just needed some help around them. They got that. I was not surprised that they rattled off, I guess it would have been, 10 wins right after that?
Right.
I didn't know they'd have 14 wins that they'd be on the doorstep of after that win. But I was not nervous for the season because I knew how those guys would respond. I was actually confident.
It was one of those things, Jay, that the very next week is what I was fascinated to see. And for them to win 66-7, I was like, whoa, okay, there's zero hangover. There's zero excuse. It is straight back to work and in a hurry. Because, I mean, you scored 14 points against Northern Illinois. You're like, what is going on? And then to explode for that and then to continuously just beat people down. There's a couple one-score games in here, but other than that, I mean, it's demolishing guys. And really thought the team started playing way better just as a whole, maybe mid-October. That's where you're like, okay, this offensive line's coming together. This defense flying around, looks like animals, athletes all over the place. That's when I'm like, uh-oh, is Notre Dame about to, steal a spot from somebody? And surely they did, which was impressive.
Yeah, and I think, Mike Denbrock's one of the best offensive coordinators in the game. He's widely respected in those circles like you guys that know what he did with Jaden Daniels, turning him into a Heisman Trophy winner before coming back to Notre Dame for another stint. I think he was kind of kid gloves early on with Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard, look, everyone goes, man, you've had a whole camp to get ready. Forget that you're not ready come week 2. Guy didn't play a lot in camp. He was still injured in camp. So I think that they were still trying to figure out what they had in Riley Leonard, what his limitations were, what they're comfortable implementing with him. It's a quarterback in an entirely new system with an elevated mind in
Right.
Coach Denbrock. So I think the approach was a regrettable one, both from offensive coordinator to also execution on the field in all facets. Every vertical was bad that
Right.
day, but the growth, the familiarity, and the comfort grew. And to lead, I think, all of college football in point differential, you got to play who's on the schedule.
Correct.
And in the ACC, I'm not taking a knock, but there's some lighter games on the schedule. The really good teams in the ACC, the top tier, go out there and just boat race them. That's when you go, oh, they're really good. They're boat racing who's in front of them. Notre Dame's point differential was the best in the country. They were doing that. So it's just like, okay, as competition elevates, will they? And clearly they have. This group is playing its best football at the right time. And I'm glad that you can finally say that about college football. You don't
Right.
have to be perfect all
Yeah.
year.
Correct.
Postseason in our game, KG, in college
Mhm.
hoops, it's not necessarily the best team at the beginning of the year in late fall that goes and wins it in the spring. And it shouldn't be that way. And so now you're watching a college football team in Notre Dame that is at its best, probably I'd say really at like week 5 or 6, and is rocking now. They are
Yeah.
a machine right now, and they've got a chance to do something special as heavy underdogs against Ohio State.
And
Yeah,
I
I
think what's
like that. Oh, go
interesting,
ahead. Go ahead, Mac.
I think it's interesting, sorry, KG, that you bring up the getting to learn each other, because football is a different game too, in the fact that we don't have exhibition games. We don't get any
Yeah.
warm up. It is straight to it. And so that's great that the limited practice that they did have, he really doesn't know the kind of dog that he has. He doesn't know that this guy's going to fight for every inch. He doesn't know how to call the game for him until you're in it, and those live bullets are really flying. I mean, Riley Leonard has more third down and short conversions, fourth and short conversions, than anybody in college football. I think it's a pretty considerable gap. So that goes to speak to that as well, Jay, that both these guys came together and found a way to do it, KG.
And I do want to tap this, KG, before I give it right back to you. On the heels of that,
Mhm.
EMAC, is Notre Dame's also gone for it on fourth and short more than any team in college football.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Which I
if you
love.
mirror that to a team in the NFL that's having great success, it's Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. So there's a great confidence in this group to get it done and to execute in tight, high pressure situations, KG.
Yeah, I just love the almost more March Madness feel of this. Like, of course, we don't have, it's not a Cinderella, right? Notre Dame and Ohio State are not Cinderellas, let's be real. And that's generally how it works out in college basketball. You have a Cinderella maybe make a run, but generally your Final Four, your national title are two very, very good teams and the two hottest teams at the time, which is really what we have with Ohio State and Notre Dame. It is interesting though, and I wonder, do you feel like, okay, Ohio State, let's say if they win this game, they will have still lost to Michigan. If Notre Dame wins this game, they will have still lost to Northern Illinois. Like, is there anything to that? Or because college football is still different, like you have a shorter schedule. Or does that not even matter if you go and win the Natty?
I'm glad you brought that up, KG,
It's a
because
different world.
it burns me up because I think about my Cincinnati Bengals
Mhm.
back in a few seasons ago. I think that was 2021. They started 0-4. They looked
Yeah.
horrible, and they went all the way to the Super Bowl. And if Joe Burrow doesn't get sacked by Aaron Donald, he maybe gets that pass off to Jamar Chase going down the sideline, who beat Jalen Ramsey, as if I've forgotten, and maybe we win the Super Bowl. So it's like, no, this is what I always said sitting at the desk with EMAC, EJ, Eddie, and the legend Coach Mark Richt. I'd always say, how do you guys play a game where your season can end in week 2, no matter how special you are?
Yes.
Like, it just blew my mind. Like, I think about all the corpses of teams that never got these opportunities that Notre Dame and Ohio State are getting because they were just
Mm.
written off as they can't be
Right.
champions. They weren't special every single opportunity. And I'm glad college football doesn't have that anymore. The best teams that were left in this thing all had blemishes, all had moments where they didn't look very good. I measure a champion in the response. Like, how do
Right.
you come back from that? Not only that, Notre Dame was a team that's been wildly beat up with injuries in
Mhm.
very
Sure.
important positions on the field.
And people don't want to bring that up. They want to bring up the other
Right.
teams that they don't have a quarterback or they don't have this guy. They don't want to talk about the All-Americans that are
Right.
missing from this team right now.
Everybody in that program has gotten better this year. We're
Right.
talking about a third-year coach in Marcus Freeman. We know what year 3 means for a head coach. It's where you are judged. It's ultimately, we're going to extend this guy, we're going to get rid of this guy.
Right.
And what we've seen in Marcus Freeman in this postseason is he outcoached arguably the best coach in college football right now,
Mhm.
in Kirby Smart. James Franklin's a pretty darn good football coach. He out X and O'd him. You're looking at a guy now that's like, well, maybe the Bears should go get him.
Yeah.
Maybe
Right.
this program should go get him. A guy that in week 2, people were saying he's not built for this. He's too young. And I give credit to the administration at Notre Dame to let this young man grow on the job because he was a young man. He was 35 when he got the job with no head coaching experience. It's not like you're taking a job at Eastern Michigan or Western Carolina and you'll grow into it. This is the Yankees. This is the Patriots. This is the Lakers. And they allowed him to learn. And he stumbled a few times in year 1 and year 2. And now he's in the coaching elite and has a chance to turn this Notre Dame team into something like, and I'll regionalize myself here, living in Chicago 15 years, could turn them into the 1985 Chicago Bears, who still walk around like legends in the Windy City. That's what they're on the precipice in about a week, 60 minutes away from, if they can do it.
Yeah. And that's the fascinating thing that you just brought up there about Marcus Freeman. Not even him, not even the players, but the administration to take the risk, to take the chance. And I remember that day vividly when that video came out and we found out, and you're just like, this is amazing. But also too, to stick with him and to let him grow, like you just said there, it's truly amazing. Let's dive a little bit more into Coach Freeman because, again, he is a massive part of my return to fandom here. Just who he is as a man, you know him better
I love this
than
podcast.
us.
Can we
Just walk us through. Who is he? Who is Marcus Freeman, the man?
Marcus Freeman, I'm glad you mentioned that video. It's a great place to start. That video when he got announced. You saw what that locker room was like. We all have played for multiple coaches in different places, and you don't always get that response unanimously across the board when a guy was given the job. Certainly there's some guys like, I didn't love him when he was our coordinator. I don't really. Everyone was ecstatic. This was the guy that they wanted. That's why they're playing for him in the manner that they are, and that's why they're achieving to this manner. I know him personally. He's a friend. Marcus Freeman is a loyal guy. He's a guy who's done it on the field, so he's got that respect. He's at that age at 38 where he relates to the players. He's got such an incredible pulse for his group. He's a CEO. It doesn't mean he's not a guy who gets into the X and O's. What I mean by CEO is he said, what are we lacking? We got Al Golden, who's arguably the best defensive coordinator in the game, or one of them. We got to go get an OC to match with Riley Leonard and elevate our quarterback play and elevate our offense. Let's go get Mike Denbrock, who's also widely regarded as one of the best at the coordinator position. 2 elite coordinators surrounding him. A guy that is the face of the program, that handles the media beautifully. We've seen some of the curveballs he's been thrown and how masterfully he's handled those. This guy can relate to players, the fans, as we joke about Brian Kelly. He's got a great relationship with the administration, but he's also a guy that's heavy-handed in the defensive scheme of things as a defensive coordinator with a defensive background, 5th-year draft pick that went to the Chicago Bears, didn't have a long career in the NFL, was there a cup of coffee, but again, played the game. He's a heavy analytics guy. There's an analytics guy that's on the sidelines with him at all times, so he taps into that progressive side of it as well. This guy touches every part of the game in this progressive state of it all. He doesn't need to evolve with it. He was groomed within it. I mean, this is the perfect type of coach you want in this era. He's not long in the tooth, so this whole thing isn't just blowing his mind of how this whole world has changed. He's come up with it. So he is perfect for Notre Dame. All this talk about other places, sure, you can't predict that. But what I do know about the loyal guy that he is, he's grateful Notre Dame took the shot to give him that job. And he's made a lot of people look very smart. And I go back to the playing field. As the SEC is not a part of this thing. Texas was the biggest threat. They're new to the SEC. Game's changing. Everybody has a shot now because everybody can get paid, not just those SEC schools back in the day that were getting cashed up when everyone else was playing by the rules. I'm saying that was serious. I'm being serious. Like, that's what it was. Now everybody can get paid. Talent's everywhere. Notre Dame's going to be relevant. Clemson's going to be relevant. This school is going to be relevant in P5. So now you got a guy sitting on a war chest with money and a high level of interest with the fans at Notre Dame to restore greatness, win the first title since '88, and maybe go try and get some more. So I think he's very happy with where he's at.
I don't see why on earth he'd leave. But I just don't see it. And of course, you win a national title, things just.
Oh, they'll give him whatever. I mean, they'll give him whatever. Hi, baby.
I love that your kids are running around. It's amazing. Jordan, let's talk because I know you're busy. You got to go be dad. Let's
Let's
talk.
quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hi,
All right,
Say
say hi.
Say.
Say
hi.
hi, Mac.
Hi, Sailor.
Okay,
Sweet
okay,
girl.
okay. She's
Oh,
out of here. She's out of here.
All
you
right,
guys
get
with
out.
your daughters.
Yeah, get out of here. We're working.
Kills me. And I'm looking forward to covering Sailor's career at Notre Dame, but we can get to that later.
Well, Scully, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Can't wait. Okay, but let's talk about the game, Jordan. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Ohio State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, an 8-point dog from what I'm looking at, which is just, interesting. A lot of credit going to Ohio State. I think the biggest concern for Notre Dame, in my estimation, is probably just the fact that no one, as of late, has really been able to run on Ohio State. And Notre Dame, of course, with Riley Leonard, with Love, I mean, these guys, they want to run. I mean, running's a big part of what Notre Dame does. I saw Ohio State has 16 sacks in the 3 playoff games, which is pretty crazy. So I'm just going to put that out there. And you tell me, is this a level of concern or should I not
No, it's a
get over
massive level of concern.
it? Okay.
And EMAC will enjoy this. I think so much of it comes down to the offensive
Yeah.
line. Like, how healthy are we going to be there? I mean, there's going
Right.
to be a
Don't
lot
have
of
your left
moving
tackle.
parts.
It's a
Our
big
left
deal.
tackle is not playing in this game. Who's going to be the left tackle? There's a lot of different options. They could move around the line, take maybe our right guard, put him at left tackle. He was slated to start at left tackle at the beginning of the season. They liked him more at right guard. And there's a backup that played, a senior this is his last game of eligibility that they may move into that slot, who played, admirably in that second half and held down the fort, where we got a little bit of life with the run game in the second half against Penn State. It's a huge concern. I mean, Penn State was really good stopping the run in the first half. We found out we had some mitigated opportunity in the second half there, but Jeremiah Love's health, that's another one. I mean, that incredible 2-yard run for the touchdown in the fourth was crazy, but are we going to be able to get a home run hitter out of Jeremiah Love? Because we have him, it allows the run game with him and Price to really elevate. Health is my biggest question with our offensive line and our running game. Aside from that, we got to be able to take away the perimeter, not take away the perimeter, but we can't get crushed on the perimeter with this Ohio State team. I mean, they have home run hitters in the backfield, on the outside. Most talented player on the field is Jeremiah Smith. Our secondary has been great, and we've been winning the turnover battle, which is the great equalizer in the college football game, especially with nerves riding high. But yeah, it all comes down to our offensive line and their health for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the Penn State game I was looking at and I said, you don't need Riley to win with his arm, but he can't lose it. He can't lose with his arm. And when he threw
he
those
almost
two
did with
picks,
that one toss.
right? And I'm just like, oh no, what is happening? What is going on? It just feels like the firepower, the quarterback from Ohio State with what they have, you cannot give them those extra opportunities. But I have been impressed, with your defensive backs, how they've matched up with wide receivers. This is a different animal. Just biggest, key for you. I know you said offensive line and injury, but what has to happen? Is it a certain rushing yards? Is it Riley throwing? Is it the defense getting a turn? What has to happen for Notre Dame to be national champions?
Time of possession, and I don't mean to cop it. I don't mean to cop that one. I feel like that feels like a lazy take sometimes. You can say that a lot when you're an underdog, but Notre Dame controlling time of possession, being able to run the football, being able to stay ahead of the sticks. Riley Leonard being able to, on a QB draw, on some read options, like for him to be able to do it with his legs, him feeling comfortable with what's in front of him and what he's seeing in this game, because it's going to be like nothing they've seen before. I think if we can have those long sustaining drives, our defense is no slouch. Like if they can be rested, not on the field too much in this game, because our offense is moving the football down the field, we can win one of those 24-20 games. We can win one of those 2017 type games. That's what it's got to be played at. It starts with us being able to move the football, because then it's that domino effect. I think we can contain their run. I think our secondary is special enough. There's a lot of talent in our secondary. Look, Smith is a stud, but we've got studs. He scares me, yes, but this is not Notre Dame going into the CFP game against Clemson. This is not Notre Dame in 2012 going up against Alabama. Like, we have the athletes, we have the pros, we have the speed, and I'm excited for it. But it does start again with us being able to move the football and have long, sustaining drives.
Completely agree with that, JC. And I think the secondary versus these Ohio State wide receivers and versus the passing game is going to be crazy. I think it was Josh Pate who I saw who said that Ohio State has only, I think it's on like 20% of their possessions this year has seen man. That's it. And we know Notre Dame.
Notre Dame plays it more
Yeah,
than anybody.
exactly.
Cover
Yeah.
one. Notre Dame's
So
cover one is more than anybody in college football.
it
They're
might
going to stay
really come down to
way.
that.
They're going to stay that way. They're not going to
Mhm.
change that
Right.
because big bad Jeremiah Smith on the outside. Like, they're going to be who they are. And it goes back to the ability we have with our guys to play cover one as much as we do, more than
Yeah.
anybody in the country. Like, we're going to be that team in this game.
Right.
That's
Yep.
just
Right.
what we're going to be.
Live or die. Live or die. It's what you're going to do. Last
Yeah.
one for you, Jay. We'll get you out of here. We've danced all around it, but this new era, all the money going around, all the money you're making right now with this run that you're on here, what will this mean? What will this do for Notre Dame as a football program, as a university, to capture the first ever 12-team playoff national championship?
It would really be it'd be everything. And I just look at it like, what was the biggest knock when we'd sit there, EMAC, at the desk, and you just bully me about Notre Dame? Because we were always top 10. We were always on the doorstep. We could never win those games. That was always a knock. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're relevant. Yeah, you're independent. Yeah, you have your own network. But you guys are cute until it comes down to like knuckle up time.
Right?
Once you erase that, and the code has been cracked with our independence because the path is always going to be there for us. And the money is now coming in, and you can't negatively recruit against Notre Dame to say, yeah, it's a cute program, but they can't compete with everybody else. That's gone. You're not going to want to be around me after Monday night if we win that game.
I'll always want to be around you, big dog. Come on.
Lose Kelly, lose Muff's number. Lose
Oh, I
my number.
know. I
You're
know.
not going to want to be around us
I
because
know.
we've been bullied my entire life. I was 5 years old last time we won a chip. I didn't grow up a Notre Dame fan. Truthfully, I grew up a Michigan fan. Fab Five and all that.
Yeah.
That was my team. But once I went to Notre Dame, once I committed in 2000, I mean, we're not talking about a runway of 25 years. That's more than half the time I've been alive, and I've heard the hate. And it's been warranted. Notre Dame preseason top 5. Why? We know what's going to happen to them. They're in the CFP. Why? We know what's going to happen. That monkey off the back would be huge.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at it and say, this is an opportunity. We hear those Friday Night Lights lines, like, they have an opportunity to be legends. Like, this group has an opportunity to be legends. Like, Tony Rice still walks around, and he's not a nationally known name, but from what he did in 1988, winning as a dual threat guy, a running quarterback, and Notre Dame a national championship, those guys are legends. And these guys have an opportunity to do that. And I'm really excited for them because I know a lot of these guys personally, and they're really good kids. Howard Cross, great kid. Xavier Watt, great kid. Ben Morrison, great kid. Riley Leonard, great kid. Like, they're good people.
Yeah.
And they're on the doorstep of something special. The calls I'm getting, it's people popping up out of the woodwork with their hand out hoping to get tickets, but yet still I'm hearing from them. And it's really cool. You guys have lived this. You guys know what it's like. You guys had a team that in 1981, EMAC's father-in-law was a part of that incredible team. Shout out to Bill Smith, one of the best human beings I've ever met. But then you guys were largely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Until you became a powerhouse again. And I've seen the arrogance that now oozes off Eric McLean.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't ooze off you like that, because EMAC, the arrogance, oozes off of him. I
Hey,
want
guess
that.
what? It's about to be
You
back
want
next
that.
year, too. Get ready.
There we go.
Yeah.
I want that for this Notre Dame group. I want them to feel like they belong because they've been on the doorstep. I want them to get that monkey off their back and be champions. Marcus
No
Freeman,
doubt.
above all else, he's everything right with college football. He cares about the players first. He always deflects to the players. I want this guy to win. And lastly, I'll say, and you know I'm always an emotional guy, but I do feel like my brother's on the backs of these guys. You know, they showed up for that foundation event honoring my late brother 2 weeks before the season. They should have been there, and they certainly should have had all the stud players there. And I feel like my brother, who used to love going to games, he hated Notre Dame growing up too. His last 5 years of life, he loved going to Saturdays to games with me. We'd have a blast. We'd have a riot of a time. And I feel like they're on this. They're a team of destiny. I really do believe they're a team of destiny. They're not the better team. They just got to be the better team for 60 minutes that night. I think
That's
they
all it
can
takes.
be. I think they will be.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I'm ready,
Jake,
coach.
this is awesome, man. You're the best. I love
love
you.
you
Great
guys.
to see you. I hope you get it done.
I never thought that would be said, Kelly. I mean, this is. I could do this. If you guys want to run this back tonight, tomorrow, like, I'll do this.
Just
Whenever.
keep
I
going.
didn't know this existed right here in Eric McLean. This is awesome.
I'm glad you got to see it. Love you, brother. Appreciate you.
I love you guys, man.
Thanks again to these great Notre Dame guys who joined us. Riley Leonard, we appreciate him, wish him all the success. I've enjoyed talking to him over the years. And then Jordan Cornette, who we used to work with at ESPN and, of course, is a Notre Dame basketball legend and works at NBC and does all sorts of big stuff now and is just honestly one of the best guys in the business. So really enjoyed his thoughts and his insight on Coach Freeman, what this would mean for Notre Dame, keys for the game. Mac, I think we need to make a pick on this game.
Ooh.
And as much as I loved talking to Riley Leonard, as much as I love Jordan
Are you
Cornette,
flipping this whole episode on its head right now?
I think Ohio State's going to win. I mean, and it's really two reasons, Mac. Number one, the health really concerns me. I mean, Cornette brought that up. The health for Notre Dame really concerns me. Without your left tackle, how healthy is Love? Can he just superhuman put it together like he did against Penn State? So that's my big concern. And then the second thing is running the ball is such a big part of what Notre Dame does.
Right.
And truly, Ohio State has been lights out against the run. I guess I'm curious if Notre Dame can be explosive enough. But I think if Notre Dame wants to win this game, it's what JC said. It's got to be played in the 20s, like the low 20s. You've got to win this game 24-20 or 20-17. If this game ends up, if Ohio State is scoring more than 30, I don't think Notre Dame has a chance. So I'm taking Ohio State, and I hate that I'm doing that.
Yeah. Sounds gross. Sounds gross to hear.
Yeah, it's gross. I feel gross.
Yeah, you should. Maybe take a shower after this, lighten up or something. I don't know. Here's the deal. The interesting thing that you mentioned with the O-line health that JC brought up as well, it is fascinating because this defense is really good, very physical. You got a couple of bookend defensive ends that are extremely good at what they do, getting after the quarterback. We saw one in TJ, number 44 there, have multiple sacks, back-to-back drives and really create chaos. And then the other one, 33 having a 80-yard, 90-yard touchdown to the house, against his former roommate. So two guys that are absolute game breakers. You have to have a plan ready. You have to have a plan of attack for you to go. The good thing is you've seen guys like it. You've seen Georgia, who is disgusting and has a great defensive line and has arguably, a top 4, top 3 draft pick in Williams at the linebacker position, hybrid edge position. You just saw number 1 or 2 pick at defensive end against Penn State there. So you have practice. It's not like you went on this run and this is going to be the craziest thing that you've ever seen. So the plan and play should be very similar to what you do, but can you do it? And are you able to, execute at a high level? I think, Riley's going to have to throw the ball. He threw the ball for the second, most yards he's had all year against Penn State, which that's only 220. Like that's not game breaking. When you think of these national championships, these epic performances by quarterbacks, 3+ is what you're looking for there. And that's just not who they are. It's not who he is. So expect him to totally put his body on the line, running the football. Jeremiah Love to be as special as he can be. I do think there's something about the team of destiny thing. I think that this team can win again, as JC said, 17-10, 2017, something crazy like that. And I'm going to go out there and say they're going to do it. I think that, there's a coaching thing to this as well. And, Marcus Freeman is on fire. Now, so is Ohio State. They're playing their best ball I've seen them play all year, but so is Notre Dame. And so to see them clash, maybe this is more of a want-to, maybe it's more of a heart thing. I do not like Ohio State, so I will not utter those words. So give me the golden numbers. Give me 20-17, the Irish win for the first time since '88.
Wow. I mean, I would love to see it. I think it'd be really cool. And it is really weird that it feels like the country is rooting for Notre Dame. I don't know what to do with that. And Marcus Freeman's made them so likable, but it'll probably shift back. I think the hatred for Notre Dame will come back. But,
that's right.
We wish, probably. We wish the best of luck to our half brother, Eric McLean.
That's right.
We'll see what happens.
That's right. I will say this too. I don't remember the exact numbers. Tim Beret tweeted out. I don't know. I think Notre Dame has not beaten Ohio State since like the 40s. So This will be a Herculean effort and might as well do it in the national championship. So We'll see. Anyway, appreciate everybody. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate Riley and JC and, everybody for setting this thing up, and appreciate you guys tuning in always. Notre Dame fans, if you're new, welcome. Great to see you for one episode, but you can probably hit the road after this. This will be the only time that we do it. So
anybody Notre Dame. When ACC teams are playing
Well, maybe some basketballs down the road. Your women's team on fire. A lot of
Yes,
fun. A lot
we
of
love
fun to
that.
talk about. Anyway, guys, subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications. Stay on this journey with us. Jump in the comments. Tell us what you think about this game. We always appreciate you guys tuning in. But until next time, we'll see y'all.